Good Thursday afternoon. Welcome to a football show brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. Oh, is it ever brought to you by Sinkers Beverages? And the Kingston Group, of course, buildkg.com. We've got a lot of stuff to do today. Football practice and free stuff, Zach. We had a real football practice with virtually an entire roster, minus, 12 dudes. Lots of stuff to discuss, of course, on the pod today, on the show today. If you want to jump into the comments, please do. If you want to ask any questions about practice, I will do the best to answer them the best I can, the best I'm allowed to, I suppose. But a whole lot of stuff. Players were absent. One singular player was the best player on the practice field. How about that? We'll tell you about that. There was a noticeable difference in tone and style from a few different coaches on the practice field, which I want to get your thoughts on, Zach. I had a chance to chat with Sean Murphy-Bunting, brand new cornerback from the Tennessee Titans. I did this last year with a bunch of the new free agents. I'm fascinated with how people integrate themselves into Mike Vrabel's world. like it's Mike Vrabel's world. And I know you and Mike talk about this on F Words, just sort of him being more of a people manager and a CEO and maybe a teacher and more of like a dean rather than like a graduate assistant. He's kind of just growing his role. And so I wanted to talk about culture and communication and style. Sean Murphy-Bunting, also a very large personality on the practice field as well. So you'll hear from him. Some offensive line, receiving core stuff, lots of practice observations, some stuff from F Words that we're going to reiterate here on the pod as well. So Zach, how are you, sir? What is going on, my man?
I'm ready for the weekend. I'm just working for the weekend.
All right. So Kingston Group, before we get to any of that, we've got a major, it's not really an announcement, and it's not, Kingston Group is great. Go to Kingston Group, buildkg.com. You guys know the drill, locally owned. Have any major decisions to make about your house, go to the Kingston Group, talk to them first, make sure you talk it through. They'll help you make a decision. Okay, you guys know the deal. But here's the thing. Sinkers Beverages, there's a reason they're the number one liquor store in Tennessee, in Nashville, I should say. You got Bluegrass up in Hendersonville, their sister store. So they're technically, I think they're by default also number one as well in Hendersonville, I think. So here's what they're going to do for you. I don't think it's hyperbole, Zach, to say that this is the best sports talk giveaway in the history of sports talk.
I can definitely guarantee it's the best one in Nashville and the best one of any establishment that puts out a podcast
or any radio show. I would say.
I would have to say it's way up there, if not the best. It's like top 3.
So I also have some. So guys listening, you wonderful men and women listening, Zach's going to learn something here in real time too, and I wanted to save it for Zach just to make sure we could all see his face in reaction to this. Sinkers Beverages, in a couple of weeks, is going to be going up to the Wild Turkey Distillery and picking out the Russell's Barrel Pick for the year. Liquor stores go up, they go to their liquor stores, they go to the distilleries, and they get to hand taste, I guess, mouth taste. I don't know what the right phrase is. Mouth taste. They get to hand select their barrel pick. Happens all the time, right? Every liquor store does it. No other liquor store is going to take you with them on the trip. 2 of you are going to go with Sinkers Beverages to Wild Turkey on a party bus to hand select their Russell's Reserve barrel pick for the year. And you know who else is going to go?
Finally.
Zach Lyons. Zach Lyons is going. I am getting to go as well. And 2 of you are going to get to go. Now, the minimum requirements to earn this prize, you have to sign up for the in-crowd. You got to go into Sinkers, sign up for the in-crowd. You got to be in their system. If you're not in their system as an in-crowd member, that's it. I'm sorry. You can't go on a trip to a distillery with them on a party bus. Come on. Then we need to see some reviews. We need to see some photos, some evidence that you are shopping there and listening to the show and supporting the show. Just tune in next week, next Thursday, and we will tell you exactly how we're going to pick the 2 people, very special people on the show. But I would suggest between now and Thursday, going to Sinkers Beverages, signing up for the in crowd, and making sure that you write a review about this here podcast.
And let me say this in podcast descriptions for all the episodes since Sinkers has become a sponsor. Every YouTube video, every Facebook video has the link to Sinkers Beverages. It's so easy to, first off, go to YouTube and click on hell, this video has it. You click on the link right now and go sign up as you're hearing this voice. Or fucking Google it. I had to get in my DMs yesterday and say, hey, do they just go to the is there a website that they can go to sign up for the in-crowd? Yeah, sinkersbeverages.com. Like, is it really that hard, people, for you to all to use Google and common sense at this point in America?
I mean, honestly, I have never been as excited to get on a party bus and head up to a distillery and get to watch the process unfold. We're not driving, baby. Literally, Sinkers Beverages is doing the driving for us.
On a party bus.
It's going to be a ton of fun. We'll get you that date. It's coming up in the middle of June, so it is fast. It is a couple of weeks away.
Oh, it's totally going to be when I have a fucking wedding to go to that I can't get out of. No. I can already tell. I know it is.
Oh, no. Please tell me it's not.
Yeah, if it's close to Father's Day weekend, I ain't going to be able to go.
Oh, shit. My wife told me not to do anything for Father's Day weekend. Sorry, honey.
Yeah. I'll be in Michigan.
Oh, man. We're going to have to figure that out.
That's what it's going to be.
We might have 3 tickets to give away.
There you go. You can take Mike with you, for football and other F-words representation.
There you go with Bluegrass. Okay, so there you have it. Again, tune in next Thursday. We'll tell you how to give it away. But again, the 2 things you have to do: you have to write a review of the show, and you have to be in the in crowd. So one of those 2 things you got to do both of them. When you do those 2 things, you are entered into this contest. We'll tell you exactly how the winners will be selected. But 2 of you are going to be driven by Sinkers on a party bus up to the distillery to hand select Russell's Reserve barrel pick this year for the liquor store.
That's awesome,
dude.
I mean, I don't know how people aren't just going ahead and signing up right now, because like it's a free trip with free booze, and you don't have to drive. Like it's just the perfect giveaway.
Yep, up and back, and a big old blast is what it's going to be.
And listen, if you're out of town, you're like, well, I don't know if I can really do that. Plan a weekend and get you a cheap hotel room and just drive down, fly really cheap, find a Southwest flight really cheap, fly down, and just come. I mean, if I was out of town, I would enter this contest.
So I'm looking at this now. I believe, don't quote me on this, any of you. I believe it's a Monday, so we should be good. But man, take a day off.
Monday, I'm flying back. It is not good.
And then you're right. Okay. All right. Let's get into this. Again, we're going to hear from Sean Murphy-Bunting in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about the best player on the practice field, which I thought was very clear. Their offensive line strategy, their receiving core strategy, second-year players, free agents, the new scheme, everything like that. But I know you guys talked a lot about this on Football and Other F-Words. Make sure you go check out that podcast, of course. But Caleb Farley, Dylan Radins, Harold Landry, Trayvon Wesco, Sam Oke, that's your boy, Kevin Byard, Danico Autry, Monty Rice, and Kristian Fulton, all not there.
A lot of people that needed to be there.
All not there. Now, some for very different reasons. Many of those guys dealing with injuries, and a big chunk of them dealing with injuries.
Monty Rice sneezed and threw his back out.
Apparently. And at one point during a 3 linebacker set, I'm not sure anyone recognized 2 of them that were out there.
They probably look the same.
Yes,
those frat guys tend to look the same with their popped collars and flip cups.
Come on, it was lax bros. It was not frat guys. Okay, but I think Byard and Fulton were the big 2 to discuss. And again, F-words for a longer conversation about this. But I want to get your thoughts. The 2 different reasons. Byard, obviously, we know the contention that's going on with the contract. You and I have said many times we think they should extend him. He is young enough to still be valuable to this team. He is still a critical piece of the defense and the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Leadership, face of the franchise, still worth the money. Maybe not $19 million, but still worth a contract extension. Kristian Fulton is in this other weird place in this no man's land. What did you make of those 2? Those are the big ones.
I mean, Fulton's just an idiot at this point. I mean, he's not doing anything to help himself and endear himself to the head coach that holds the fate in his hands. And like, you're doing yoga and Pilates down in Miami. Sounds like you're doing a little bit more than yogas and Pilates down in Miami, because you can do yogas and Pilates in Nashville because there's one on every fucking corner. It's yoga
That's
and
true.
Pilates. This is like yoga and Pilates capital of the world over here. You go to the Gulch, it's like there's like one every other building is a yoga or Pilates studio. You throw some Pure Barre in there too.
That's why I don't go to the Gulch.
I mean, it's ridiculous that this is his big strategy. I'm glad that he's taken a different approach to the offseason, but to do what you can do here away from the facilities and miss OTAs, even though you could supplement OTAs with that stuff that you can do in Nashville in a contract year, in a year where you've already been called out by your coach twice, and maybe that's why he's a little thin-skinned and he can't show up for practice. You're not going to be here. It's just idiocy. It is just idiotic. I'm not surprised at this point. I talked about, Kristian Fulton and Monty Rice and these guys that need to have good off seasons and have a good start to the off season. And a bunch of the guys I named didn't even show up to fucking practice.
All right. Let me ask you a couple dynamics here. How much do we think, because we know Mike Vrabel and Kevin Byard are in communication. We know KB's talking to the rest of the guys on the team. Jeffrey Simmons has said as much. We know that
he said that he's in a let's be very clear what Jeffrey Simmons said. He's in a group chat, and I assume he's doing like what I did last year and talking to the guys. And he never came out and really said, yes, I have talked to Kevin Byard, or yes, Kevin Byard's talking to all the guys. He says that he's in a group chat, which
but
I'm in many group chats that I ignore.
My point being is neither are here. Both are dealing with, I would assume, there's contract connections to both of their absences. But they have very different relationships with the head coach. Like Kevin Byard is not, every time Mike Vrabel talks about Kevin Byard, it's glowing. Every time he talks about Kristian Fulton, not so much. Quite the opposite. Kevin Byard is around. He lives here. He's in the area. He's at the golf tournament with Mike Vrabel. Kristian Fulton is not. So I'm just curious how much a text message can still solve the problem of him not being here. A phone call can still solve the problem of him not being here. How much do we think Mike Vrabel actually cares? I think he does, personally.
I think he cares. I think he wants every player at OTAs. Now,
I would agree.
Every coach does. I mean, every coach wants him. But specifically this year, and we'll talk about Chris Harris, and we'll talk about Sean Murphy-Bunting, and we're going to talk about a bunch of new people. But they're almost all exclusively, like a lot of these new people are starters on the defense, and you're missing two of the probably top 5, top 6 most important starters to learn some new communication styles, to gel with new important pieces of this defense, and they're nowhere to be found. And this idea, I'm not saying that it's like 5 alarm, pull the, DEFCON 1, got the nuclear briefcase open, you got both keys in, and you're about to turn kind of panic time. It is, but there should be some level of concern. You can't keep pushing off the concern. If everybody's like, well, we'll just wait on Kevin Byard, we'll see if he shows up to OTAs. Oh, he didn't show up to OTAs. We'll just see what happens at minicamp. And what happens if he does show up to minicamp? We'll see what happens at training camp, or we'll see what happens at preseason, or we'll see. This is the time to start having actual concern, because there is documented proof, people, on Twitter, in articles, at the Titans website. He was at OTAs last year. This idea that he wasn't at OTAs last year is just mind-numbingly stupid. He may have missed certain practices and wasn't there all the time, but he was literally mic'd up last year. There's video and audio proof of Kevin Byard there. So do not fall into this trap. That is no big deal. He missed some last year too.
Sobro says Monty Rice was due for a bigger role. You get your chance and you don't show up. That's bad luck for him. He is there. Monty Rice is there. He's working on his injury inside, but not any better that he's injured.
Yeah. I mean, he somehow got injured.
So I have a slightly different take on this. I agree with everything you're saying about Kristian Fulton, a player who's not in town, who's not around, who's not even close to the facility. We have no idea how much communication they're having, who is vying for his first real contract, big contract in the NFL, and is trying to prove that he belongs on the team while also having been called out by the coach multiple times. to me, that's a totally different psychological relationship and dynamic than Kevin Byard, who, frankly, if they figured out the relationship, and we'll get to Monty Rice in a second, who figured out the relationship, like literally the very next second, everything is perfect. Like there's no questioning Kevin Byard's ability. There's no questioning his role in the team. There's no questioning what he is like Mike Vrabel has. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I have no concern about Kevin Byard not being there, honestly, because if Danico Autry doesn't need to be there, neither does Kevin Byard. Like if Derrick Henry doesn't have to be there, which he was, then I don't think Kevin Byard it has no impact on his performance on the field in week 1, in my opinion.
No, but it has an impact on where you're at in negotiations.
So to me, it's all just part of the process. To me, it's tactical.
Well, it is, but this is a different tactical. Maybe you could call it a tactical error or misstep that they asked him to take a pay cut, but asking him to take a pay cut and having no resolution since then so far and not showing up, yeah, it could be tactical, but they're also not going to negotiate out in public, out in the media. So we don't really know if it's just tactics or if there is actual discontent with Kevin Byard because he's pissed off that they did. The only resolution
is a pay cut.
Extension.
Yeah,
no,
right.
For the only positive resolution is an extension. If Kevin Byard is going to play or show up based on what they have said, it's going to require an extension. And sure, everybody's happy when there's an extension because the player got paid and the coach gets a figure piece back, a very important piece for his defense back. Sure, everybody's happy then. But that does not seem right now like it's coming anytime soon.
No, and maybe you're right. I'm just not worried if it doesn't come soon. I'm worried, and I think.
When do you officially start getting worried?
Week 1, when he's not on the field. I don't care. I don't care if he's at training camp.
Okay, well then listen, I don't want to hear anything from anybody. Let's just say this plays out, and this defense looks disjointed, lack of communication. I don't want to hear anything from you. You cannot complain about the defense. Because it's Kevin Byard's fault. So you cannot complain about the defense.
Okay. All right. Well, there's 10 other dudes and a whole coaching staff and like a backup.
But he's an important piece, and he's one of the leaders. And we have seen in 2020, that was the year that I'm trying to remember the year.
He had like one bad year. He had one bad year.
Last year was an okay year.
Right.
Very C+ effort. But it was an F- or something back in when the third down defense sucked. It was historically bad. He was one of the main issues for that, but there was a lack of communication and there was a lack of chemistry. This will affect that. And the sooner he can get in there, the better that everybody can get on the same page with all these new pieces.
I thought that was all like the Vrabel, Shane Bowen weird nonsense. So, listen, I think for Kenneth, I think it's a big story. First of all, Kenneth, great callback. I think it's a big story. If he misses mandatory minicamp, I'll upgrade it to 4 Jim Wyatts. I don't think that applies to this, but I do love the reference. It's a fantastic reference. That's fair. Like the longer it goes, the more I'm concerned. I don't have a problem with that.
The story, was it not a big story when he was asked to take a pay cut? Because the story, for me, has maintained the same level since he was asked to take a pay cut. So yes, it's still one continuing big story. This idea that there is this is not a new big story. This is like this is episode 5. This is The Empire Strikes Back. It's all one big story.
It's more like a TV series. They're like 30-minute episodes. Here's what I would say. I just think it's like a black or white issue, though. It's like all or nothing. Like it's either a giant, huge, contentious story, and then the second it's not, and it's a perfectly happy world because there's no like middle ground. And here's the problem for both sides. Here's the problem for both sides. Like if the Titans, they can't cut him and walk away from him because it's too much money. They're not going to trade him because it makes their team way worse. And Kevin Byard's not going to sit out. There's going to be
this idea that they can't trade him or cut him is not right.
I think there's going to be
both.
My point. Well, that'd be dumb. My point is that
I agree, but this idea that these are real possibilities that we cannot wash aside just because we love Kevin Byard and think it's stupid. I also think it's stupid to go in with Chris Moore and NWI as integral parts of this offense. Doesn't stop them from doing it.
All right. Well, that's a perfect time for us to move on, because I do want to ask you about, and I know you and Mike spent a lot of time on this on F Word. So again, go check it out, stackingtheinbox.com as well. The whole Earnhardt Perkins thing, which is like an old 70s style, Ron Earnhardt and Ray Perkins put together this sort of offensive verbiage and conceptual stuff. Here's the question. Do you want me to save, because I know you and Mike spent a lot of time on that on F Words. I want people to go listen to that fuller conversation, but some of the things that we saw at camp can tie into that. Do you want me to save some of that, or do you want to talk to Sean?
Let's
Sean Murphy-Bunting,
and we'll take a break.
We'll save it, because I think there's some really interesting stuff that we've already seen, and I think it's going to change the way people look at the personnel on the roster when it comes to that offense more than anything else. So we'll do that coming up in just a second. Kingston Group and Sinkers, of course, are two amazing and wonderful and awesome sponsors. BuildKG.com, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. Make sure you give them a call before you make any big decisions about your house. I've said it 1,000 times on the show. They are here to help you. They are fantastic people that are here to help you. Don't do anything with your house. Custom builds, additions, renovations, buying, selling, no matter what. Just talk to them first. They'll take care of it. Keep that name in the back of your mind. And Sinkers Beverages, giving out the best prizes in the history of Sports Talk Nashville. I don't know what else
awesome.
to say.
Join the in crowd. That's all you got to do. Click the link, join the in crowd.
You can also search Uber Eats, and they'll deliver the booze right to your house.
Hey, they'll drive so you could drink.
God, we're getting good at this. We're getting good at this. Okay, coming off the practice field, Sean Murphy-Bunting. I'm fascinated with the new players being integrated into the offense. He did a ton of work after practice with a bunch of the guys in the secondary, unlike Kevin Byard. Did a bunch of extra work with the guys in the secondary, and I had a chance to catch up with them after practice and talk to him about communication, culture, and his integration into Mike Vrabel's locker room.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very open communication. You know, it's everybody's on the same page. Dialogue is there. If you have questions, you can ask questions without feeling like you're under scrutiny for asking that question. There's no such thing as a dumb question here. So it's really just the culture. They're building a foundation. And that foundation is just everybody being on the same page, being accountable, putting that work in and doing what they have to do to be successful for the team. Because everybody's success is team success. And so just harping on that.
Is that different than, I know you mentioned that earlier, that's different than what's going on around the league, or is that pretty standard, or does that make Mike and his staff unique?
I think every team is different depending on, the head coach and what they do and what they believe in. And I'm just speaking solely on, what Coach Vrabel does here in Tennessee. And I think that it works. What he does works, and if everybody buys in, you can tell that it is working and everybody's on the same page.
You see all this new class of free agents seem to have personality. Mm-hmm. You bring a lot of energy on the practice field. Is that something you pride yourself on?
Absolutely. I mean, I pride myself on being me all the time. Whether that's bringing energy, whether that's being a motivational, being quiet. It doesn't really matter. I just show up, get my work in every day, and bring the guys around me, make them better, and just try to, like I said, be on the same page with everybody and just motivate everybody in a way that I know how, and that's just being me.
So a couple of things. We'll get to the practice, because he was very vocal during the practice, as was Arden Key, as was Aziz Al-Shair, as all these new guys have some things in common, which we've talked about. But I'm just fascinated, and I know you guys again touched on it a little bit on F Words. I'm just fascinated with why Mike Vrabel works as a teacher, why he works as a communicator. I'm fascinated by sports psychology. I'm fascinated by college coaches who actually talk to their players, heaven forbid. Oh my God. And how it's successful. There's something different about what Vrabel does and how he approaches it. And I think you can hear Sean talking about it there, that Austin Hooper gave me basically the same answer last year at the same time. Hey, you come in, you can talk about anything you want to, but your job is your job and you got to do it. And that's the expectation. And I think Sean brought a ton of energy on the practice field. I'll say that.
Well, I think that's why Adoree Jackson didn't mesh well with Mike Vrabel, is because even though Mike Vrabel is a very approachable guy, he has high demands and expectations out of his players. Because to me, the way that I view Vrabel is that he views them as men and people, then views them as players. But he also, to me, it's like his teaching style is very kind of like a symbiotic process there. It's like, yeah, he views them as men and people first, and then the player. But making you a better player means that you're going to be a better man, and making you a better man is going to be a better player, and it's going to show up on the field. And you have to be open to the way he coaches and leads. And if you are not open to that, like a Dory Jackson, like Kristian Fulton, kind of similar kind of vibes I've been getting from them. If you're not one of those guys that responds well, that bonds well, that wants to buy in, they're going to leave you behind. And that has been the story since he got here, right? When he first got here, he said, because the big question was, oh, well, it's a young team and, who's the leaders and, what leaders, blah, 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 blah. Oh, my God, that was a whole year of Paul Kaharski trying to investigate who is going to be a leader on this team. And Vrabel kept saying the same thing. I am the leader.
I am the captain now.
Yeah, I am the captain. But what he means by that is he's not going to force people into roles that don't want them. And you have to step up in a certain role. You have to step up, buy in to be on this team. And for this team to be successful, they need 22 players at minimum to do that every Sunday. And they brought in guys who it was kind of a cliche that we poked fun at because John Robinson always said the same thing, but Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel said, we want guys that love football. This is what that looks like. This isn't Jadeveon Clowney and Julio Jones. I'm not saying they don't love football, but they don't love everything that goes into football. Julio Jones does not love practice. Jadeveon Clowney does not love off-season activities. That showed up when it came time to butting heads with Mike Vrabel and why those players aren't there, which is, very odd between the Jadeveon Clowney thing. But, that's what it is. And it works. Just got to find the players that buy in. And when the players buy in, it works. It shows every time this team wins close games, toss-up games, because everybody's bought in.
Well, I mean, I think all the 49ers were, was it also that Azeez Al-Shaair said, like, we came in here to Nashville a couple of years ago on a Thursday night, and they had none of their dudes healthy, and they still whipped us, and we were like,
that was Brunskill.
That was Brunskill?
2021 season.
And he's like, how the hell?
That was when Dylan Radins made Nick Bosa switch sides.
And it's like, how did they do that to us? How did they beat us? Well, it's the buy-in and it's accountability. And I know we can kind of say all these things and they become cliches pretty quickly when we're like, no, it's about teaching individual and catering your message to the player and understanding the human, because the better the human is and the better the player is and the better the relationship is. And like, that's a lot of cliches, but like my wife's in a leadership role on a lot of people with a lot of people. There's a lot of psychology involved. It's almost all psychology when it comes. Sure, you can teach how to dip and power rush, and you can teach how to kick out of your pro style set, and you can do all that stuff too. But all these players are very, very, very gifted, all these guys. And so the margins are a lot of times very much mental. And so I think how he approaches all of it is interesting. It's very, Nick Saban is like this too. There's a very high threshold of trust. But once you get to that threshold of trust, Vrabel lets you do your job. Doesn't mean he stops coaching, but like you have to earn this up here. It's like kind of why I'm not as concerned about Byard. I don't want to go back to Byard, but like Vrabel on the field trusts Byard to know everything he needs to know, and therefore he lets him do his job, right? Like that's. But you have to get to that certain point before it becomes like acceptable. And every new player I've talked to since starting to cover this team that comes in and sort of gets to know how it's done here, it's just like, do your job or get the fuck out. Like that. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why I don't bet against Vrabel for the most part, unless the team is just decimated by injuries. It's because he won Coach of the Year for a reason.
Right.
And he won Coach of the Year breaking a injury record that he almost broke for the second year in a row. And he's just a damn good coach.
Yeah.
And I think this idea that he can't take this current iteration of the team at full health, full strength, mind you, to double-digit wins or more wins than last year is ridiculous. This is not a worse team than week 2 in Buffalo. Now, listen, week 2 in Buffalo, they got decimated, but that was about the healthiest. That was the version you saw for the majority of the year was that team.
Yeah.
This is a better version of that.
I agree. Kenneth says, the way I see Vrabel is as a manager and a teacher of technique, but his coordinators he's hands off with and lets his coordinators sink or swim on their own. I think that's probably a fair
assessment. I talked about that on Monday, right? I mean, I said when I talked about whether he should have let Todd Downing and Keith Carter make decisions. I don't agree that he should. He should have been probably more involved. But you're right. There is a level of trust, like you say, and he has a level of loyalty and trust that, while can prove to be a good thing, does not have a 100% success rate. Does not mean that everything is going to be crumble because he gives trust out. And that's not what Kenneth is saying. I'm just elaborating on the point.
It's almost harder to like explain and showcase and show the good side of what we're talking about, because it's like it's literally like in the brain synapses and the relationships and the communication that no one ever sees. But like the easy thing to do is show the opposite side, which is Keith Carter. Right. Which is a guy that says like, nope, this is how we're doing it. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you learn. I don't care what your personality test told me or your Enneagram. Don't give a shit about any of that stuff. This is how you're going to learn, and it doesn't work. That's not.
And now you got these new coaches in, like Coach Haas and Chris Harris, that obviously have different coaching styles, and these styles are going to mesh more with the Vrabel company culture.
Which leads us to one of the most noticeable differences, easy for me to say, on the practice field on Tuesday. One of the most noticeable differences, and I'll get to who I thought that was the best player, which was clearly one player, and some of the other second-year players and the free agents. But one of the most noticeable differences was the Ran Carthon, Tim Kelly, Chris Harris combination. Chris Harris was the loudest dude at practice on every rep. He is back way behind the defense. He is screaming and yelling. He's getting his guys going. It is pure energy, pure leadership, pure excitement. Like, never have I seen that before on a practice field at St. Thomas.
Man, I bet Kevin Byard and Kristian Fulton would really love to be a part of that if they weren't, not there.
Well, I thought the starting four played pretty well in the secondary. It will not be the starting four, to your point.
I don't know. Everybody's like, oh, Elijah Molden's going to replace Kevin Byard.
No,
I'm like, okay, whatever.
If he gets hurt, maybe, but that's about it. But we'll get to that, because I did think the secondary looked pretty good. They played really well. Chris Harris is all juice, man. It is all juice. Opposite of that, the guy whose voice you used to hear all the time last year on every practice rep and every team drill and 7-on-7 and red zone drill, Todd Downing, Tim Kelly, the exact opposite. Tim Kelly is having conversations with people that no one else can hear. There's no yelling. There's no screaming. It doesn't sound like a high school football practice. It is very like Chris Harris is bringing energy and setting tempo, which I'm good with on defense, especially as you're getting acclimated as a first-year coach in a new organization. Tim Kelly, analytical, cerebral, conversational, quiet. And no GM twirling his whistle around, walking on the practice field 5 feet away from every drill with a big chaw in his mouth. That ain't how Ran Carthon operates.
That guy's down in Tampa Bay doing the same thing.
Ran Carthon is way over on the corner, over by himself, just watching from a distance, doesn't say a word. Literally in the Titans video YouTube thing they're doing or whatever, one of my favorite moments is he's like, sometimes I just sit in the quiet and think, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds wonderful. Like, thank God, because I think all humans need that, honestly. And I actually had a chance to chat with him for a second there as people were coming off the field. I was like, dude, sitting and thinking, pretty good, huh? He's like, yeah. It's like we all should do more of it. He's just so far away from everything. He's going to go up and watch the film. He's going to go up and study the tape with his scouts and his departments, and he's going to let the coaches do their job and not pretend he's somebody else. So it's very different vibe on the practice field for offense, defense, and general manager. That was one of the most noticeable things that I picked up on. I don't know if that means they're going to be great. I don't know.
Well, I think it's a good sign, right? I mean, like, when's the last time we ever had a segment on any show that you can remember hearing, not just us, but Football Under the F Words or 102.5, 104.5, where they even ever talked about Anthony Midget? And
yeah, that's true.
That's a sometimes a good thing that you're never talking about your position coach, but
especially the offensive line.
But Chris Harris is a high-profile hire. I know that he's just a defensive backs coach and defensive passing game coordinator. He's not a defensive coordinator, but he is a high-profile hire among the NFL. So this is an important hire that many of us have talked about over the offseason so far, and to see what everybody else has seen. Like when he got hired over here from the Commanders, their fan base was just distraught.
Yep.
And that is a good sign that you got someone good. Like they are just sad, distraught. And everybody knows that this guy is a future defensive coordinator, whether it's here, whether Tennessee Titans for the Tennessee Titans, or whether it's somewhere else. Chris Harris his career trajectory is only pointing up, which means he's an excellent fucking coach. And I'm not surprised that he has this. He's a former player, so I'm not surprised he has this energy. He has this big presence on the field. And I think it is exactly what the defensive back room needs, that position group needs, especially with Sean Murphy-Bunting. So now you have Sean Murphy-Bunting and him getting Elijah Molden, Amani Hooker, Trey Avery, these guys that are there hyped up and ready to go, because these guys needed that. They were one of the worst units last year. So they need to be high energy. They need to be pumped up. This is very important.
And they made a bunch of plays. I think the personalities fit. Roger McCreary made a bunch of big plays. Sean Murphy got beat by Racing on one out route, but that was a real fast pass.
Well, I did hear Racey McMath is running. I just find that to be like one of the tropes of the Racey McMath era of the Tennessee Titans. Like, hey, that guy, he's out there running.
I do not like nothing I have ever said about a college or pro football player or hockey player or anybody I've ever covered has ever been personal. But Racey McMath has not changed at all since the first day he practiced as a rookie, and that's a problem. But we'll get to that in a second, because there's a bunch of different stuff. There are a bunch of different things I want to get to, because some of this is the Tim Kelly offensive verbiage and style and the tempo and the speed and some of the changes they're making to simplify and make it all. Again, we'll get into sort of all the different parts of this, but the number one best player on the practice field. One might even say, Zach, this person is extra motivated. By far the best player on the field, not even close, was Ryan Tannehill. Not even close. Zip, on time, Chig, Burks, doesn't matter who he was throwing to. It was in the right spot. It was in rhythm. The dude, every single, I think he completed his first 9 passes. They were tight spirals. They were exactly perfectly placed. So if it's about the system, if it's about his motivation, if it's about being healthy, probably all true and combined into this, the sharpest dude on the practice field was Ryan Tannehill. Not even close.
A lot of people have talked about, well, it's just camp and it doesn't really matter. Let me say something about it. Matters for a player like Ryan Tannehill for whatever reason. It's inexplicable. It is so inexplicable. Because if you remember heading into the 2021 season, he was throwing interceptions. He didn't look that crisp. He kind of looked okay, pedestrian. Was it Todd Downing? Was it adjusting to him? But he looked pretty pedestrian, and he had a lot of turnovers in camp. And what did he do? He went on to put up one of his worst seasons, had a lot of turnovers, had 3 interceptions in a playoff game. Last year, he was a totally new person, right? I mean, he was like 2020 Tannehill. He came in, he was sharp, he was crisp, he wasn't turning the ball over, he was full of energy, he was pumped up, ready to go. I think we even talked about on here, you noticed how more vocal he was. And he turns around and was trending for a very good season. And if not been for his injury, this team would
and the O-line. I mean, let's be honest.
Right. But I mean, this team would have been in the playoffs even with the bad O-line, because I mean, they would have won the Chiefs game and they probably would have won the Chargers game, because those were games, one he wasn't in, one he was close in, they would have won the last Jaguars game.
Jags.
You're talking about that. This team would have been a 10-win team last year and in the playoffs.
So I don't want to
matters. This stuff, it's not, I'm trying not to overreact, but
yeah,
this is a good sign for Tannehill's outlook for this season and what this team is just telling us is trying to do, which is trying to win games.
So I agree. I don't want to overreact, but it felt like a training camp performance, a training camp practice with training camp prep and focus and sharpness in an OTA. So just take that for what it is. That's all it is. Now, I will say this again. Who has reason to be as motivated as anybody on the team? Ryan Tannehill. Who's affected the most by the change in the offensive system and scheme and schematics and verbiage? Ryan Tannehill. Who's looking and Aaron Rodgers is batshit crazy. But one of the few things he's ever said out loud that I just wish more people just said out loud. Of course, human beings are motivated by money.
Yes.
like, of course they are. It's a contract year for him, basically. Like, of course he is motivated. He's had 2 years where he's not been himself for various reasons. Like, I would be very concerned if he looked sloppy. So it doesn't mean he's going to be great. It's just very clear that he knows where he's at. This is a critical year, and it felt like a training camp practice. Now, I want to go into the Todd Downing. I want to go into the Tim Kelly changes and the concepts and the tempo and the speed and the simplicity and the multiplicity, because we can't talk about specifics of what I saw necessarily. But I think the big takeaway, and I know you and Mike talked a lot about this on F Words with the Earhart Perkins sort of verbiage and style, which is concept left, concept right. Just imagine, a smash route with a stop. Imagine a curl route with an in. Imagine an out route with a post. Just whatever route combination with 2 players potentially or 3 players on either side. Just the thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be wide receivers. It's not going to be wide receivers. The guy running the smash route could be a running back, could be a tight end, could be a wide receiver. The guy running the curl route could be a tight end, could be a running back, could be a receiver. And I think that's what fans need to prepare for, is the simplicity and the tempo and the quickness is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks running all those routes.
Yeah, there was an article at the fan-sided Sports Illustrated site, All Titans or something like that. And they were talking about, be careful of thinking that Chig's going to get a lot of snaps. And it's because, Trevon Wesco's replacing Jeff Swaim. Jeff Swaim had all the snaps, so where is he going to get his snaps? And I said, well, look at it this way. Trevon Wesco, in terms of snap count, Trevon Wesco equals Jeff Swaim. Josh Wiley equals Chig from 2022. Chig equals Austin Hooper plus the low-win third wide receiver, fourth wide receiver on the team snap counts as well. Because of what you're saying, he's going to be on the field spread out as a wide receiver. He's going to be running different routes. He's going to be on the field a lot more than, say, your wide receiver 4. Like, he is going to be on the field eating up snaps. Because wouldn't you rather have, instead of NWI, Chris Moore, Kyle Phillips, Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Chig Okonkwo, and throw in other guy, Wouldn't you want them 3 on the field at the same time as Tyjae Spears? And that's what I think is going to happen. I think you're not going to sit here wondering why, in week 3, I think we were all wondering, why is Treylon Burks only got 30% snaps? And why does Chig only I think even Austin Hooper at the time both had less than 30% snaps. It's not going to be the case anymore.
So this is kind of this is going back to the Tannehill thing for a second. I don't mean to do this, but it's packaged and it's all kind of works together here. So they did a bunch of drills with 2 receiver routes, a lot of 2 receiver route drills where they're just working on, against air, it's just combinations. And Will Levis missed on a bunch of them. He missed on a bunch of throws. And all of a sudden, the very last rep, they're like, no, Tannehill and Chig, you go do it. And it was the best rep of the entire drill. And it was one of those like play action, 3rd and 8, long developing route, but like
it's a good thing they're practicing 3rd and 8s because they'll probably be in that a lot.
But it's just one of those routes you would run on 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8. But it was a perfect play. After watching Will Levis like miss on these crossing routes at about 15, crossing route at 15, kind of threw it into the dirt a few times, threw in a little too high, and just watching, it was Tannehill and Chig, and it looked very different than Levis and the other guys. And so it's just one of those where you're going, oh, okay. And then we get into team, and it's like Tannehill to Burks, Tannehill to Chig, Tannehill to Chig, Tannehill to Burks, Tannehill to Spears, Tannehill to Burks, Tannehill. Like, it's going to be fun to watch. And now I will say, again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but basically, and this will be the primary takeaway on the offensive line as well, it appears they have a settled pecking order.
Which is what we've said all along, right? Like we've said that this is going to be the pecking order, and you've seen the pictures. I mean, it's obviously the right side was already decided. I guess
no. Let's save offensive line. I'm talking receiving core.
Oh, okay.
The receiving package, which there's going to be some tweaks and changes, right? Like if they want to go extra receiver, it's Chris Moore. If they want to go extra running back, it's Tajay Spears. Like we know some of the differences, but it does feel like they have a set collection of 4 pass catchers that are running as the top 4 pass catchers at all times. I'm not going to tell you where positions and where they lined up and
can you at least just tell us who?
You can absolutely tell who's wide receiver 1 on the team.
I mean, Treylon Burks. I mean, obviously Treylon Burks and Chig, but
who's tight end 1 on the team? Okay,
Chig.
Who's your big wide receiver 2? Big, think big.
NWI.
Okay, and then who's the guy that's the versatile guy that you run them all over the place?
I guess Tajay
wide
Spears?
receiver. No, but I would say Tajay Spears would be the fill-in for that role, right? When they want to play him out of the backfield So what it feels like is they've got 4 set pass catchers that are their top 4 set pass catchers. We'll get to the offensive line, but that also felt the same. Every time they're out there with Tannehill on the first team, it was kind of the same guys. It felt very set.
Well, I mean that's something that we've said needs to happen for this team. I mean, like I know we could just venture off into offensive line as I go into this diatribe, but it just feels like everybody on offense that needs to be there to learn this new system, because it is a new system, is there. And they are there day one, and they are healthy day one, week 1. So this is a good thing for this team, whether you like the pieces that they have or not. It does not matter.
Didn't say they were going to be good.
Yeah. Nobody's saying they're going to be good, but at least they're going to be cohesive. Maybe they're all cohesively bad. Maybe I don't know. But at least they're all there learning, right? I mean, like, when they had Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, it was like they were messing around the offensive line. Julio Jones missed practice. A.J. Brown's here. But then A.J. Brown misses practice. Here's Julio Jones. And nobody could get on the same page. And it showed up in 2021. Now, and last year was like they were messing around with the offensive line. They had a really bad offensive coordinator. So now you're kind of moving everything around. And Elvin is saying something that I saw this morning on their show. And he's speaking to A to Z, and he said they're saying that he looked awful, and they had some weird questions they were asking. I didn't watch the show. I just saw what they put on Twitter. But they're the first people I've heard that say that Burks did not look good at this practice.
Well, you got to drive engagement and enragement somehow. Listen, Burks looked a little leaner, not by much, but a little leaner. He was excellent in team. Like they targeted him over the middle, like they targeted him, like he looked great in team. He looked a little leaner. Again, it's sort of like Levis. I don't think we can know anything more about Treylon Burks until he gets into a game and is actually healthy and excelling. So to me, he looks a little bit better in shape. And in fact, I think all the second-year players look better. Roger McCreary looks better. MPF looks a little bit better. I think Kyle Phillips looks a little bit bigger. I think he talked about it being a little bit thicker and bigger and stronger. Chig looks better and smarter and more confident. Like every single one of them look better. And I don't want to put words into Austin or Zach's mouth. So I didn't see it, so I don't know. But if Donnie wants to,
I didn't watch it. But the way that they worded their tweets, I was like, just seemed a little weird. I'd have to go back and find them.
Right. So I don't want to speak to what they actually had to say in the content itself. I mean, we all have to, tease you into the content somehow. To me, I think again, it's just an OTA, but I thought once they got into team, everybody, again, exactly like you said, it doesn't mean that this group is going to be good, that they are going to excel and be even middle of the pack in the NFL. But it does feel like they have their roles. They feel good about their roles. They all look better than last year at this time. And that they're sort of situated inside this new offense. And now they're just adding reps every day, getting better, knowing everything they need to know. Doesn't mean they're going to be great. Doesn't mean they're going to be good. Who knows? We got to see it in a game.
I'm just glad that the offensive line is just set. and it's set at the correct order that we've said all along that it would be set at. And so if you didn't listen to Football Night afterwards, we talked about what you said because you were the only person to come out and say it. And I think I feel like it's kind of big news.
Maybe I'm not allowed to.
I don't know, maybe not. But you said it was Dillard, Skoronski from left to right.
I did not say any of the names.
Oh, well, I said it. Well, it's the 5 that we thought, right? Like, and you said yes. So I'm saying the names.
Here's what I can say. Every single time they ran first team reps along the offensive line, it was the exact same 5 players in the exact same 5 positions. And that is all that I actually care about. I again, don't know if it's going to be great or not. Don't know if it's going to work. Don't know if one guy's going to fit in one position or they're going to move it at some point. But for the entire practice, the first team offensive line was the same 5 guys in the same 5 spots.
And it looked like it carried over the day after you guys were there as well in videos.
And that is a good thing in and of itself.
Such a good thing. Yeah. Such a good thing.
I remember looking over at someone and going, "Look at that! They got 5 starting offensive linemen in the starting spots," and everyone on the sidelines like, "Yeah, that's a change."
Yeah. The where is Jamarco Jones and Jalen Duncan? Are they second team, third team, left side, right side, guard, tackle? Surely you could say that, right?
No, that's the kind of stuff you're not supposed to say. Yeah, you're not supposed to say that so-and-so lined up. Like, the only reason we can talk about Elijah Molden playing safety is because it was volunteered and because he talked about it. It's kind of silly because it's an OTA and it doesn't really mean anything. I would say that I just think there's a pretty clear line in the sand in that position group with the 5 guys. And then everyone else is sort of like in this nebulous.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think any of those guys were starting. I was just kind of wondering where maybe were they moving Jalen Duncan all around, trying to find his fit in the second or third team? Was Jamarco Jones, did he get into any fights this go around?
If I was the offensive line coach for the Tennessee Titans, here's what I would want to do. I would want to see Jalen Duncan grab, like, let's call it 4th string tackle around the neck and just hold on to that position. Because you talked about it on F-Words with Mike, that Skoronski is really probably the guy who's your Dennis Kelly swing should anything happen or should something not work out. He's the guy who can play all the positions if you need him to, almost no matter what, except for maybe center, I guess. He probably could play all the other 4 positions. And he's going to be better than almost anybody else at those positions. So what you want from Duncan is, with all that athleticism and a little bit of baby fat, to like just clearly be the most talented guy at either tackle position and have him be the depth piece, the piece that makes the team. And I would say, just look at, again, Jamarco Jones has never, not to be all Racy McMath here, but like has just never looked the part. It just doesn't. Like, Jordan Roos looks the part sometimes. Corey Levin looks the part sometimes. And Jamarco Jones just kind of never has. And that's maybe not fair to him, but like, I don't know. Have you ever seen him look the part? So
I wasn't sold on him at all. I mean, I basically said he's Kendall Lambs, which is basically sloppy fart, which is basically
that's where you make it personal, Zach.
No, that's Bobby Hart. Bobby Hart. I just call him sloppy fart.
Oh, okay, all right. But again, I think having their offense feels set at almost every position. Truly, like quarterback, running back, tight ends, offensive line, receiving core. It feels like if you, the fan, just guessed at the starting 11 based on whatever formation they were running, whether it's 11, 12, 21, 13, whatever personnel, you could probably get it right. And that is not a position I have felt that this team has been in at this stage of the offseason in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it has always felt like it's been some big science experiment every offseason. And I'm thrilled to hear it because it just is another feather in the cap.
Shut up.
For the old Zach Lyons is always right, and this team is going to win 10 games.
Well, see, there's where you lose me and everyone else, because you are right. It is better that they are like this. It does not mean a stinking thing about wins and losses, because they may not be good enough at any of those positions.
I think they'll be good enough to get that, because then you go back to Mike Vrabel.
Let me throw 2 quick special teams notes at you because somebody asked about catching punts. Did anyone catch any punts? The new rule on the kickoff actually helps the Titans because the Titans suck so bad at returning things. The fact that no one gets to return anything now actually levels the playing field for the Titans. That's number one. No, and a lot of people in the media were talking about that. Shout out Teresa Walker. Her and I were walking around talking about that. Number 2, I don't know if it's pure hubris, but I just think Mike Vrabel and now I guess Ran Carthon along with John Robinson before that, I just think that they are just smarter than everybody else when it comes to place kicker. Like I think that they just think that they can just outsmart the entire NFL. And like, no, we're just going to find Ryan Stonehouses all over the place and never truly address the issue. And maybe Shudak is the guy. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, weren't they pretty good at
sure.
I think that's the thing that everybody's kind of blowing up. I was thinking about this today, actually.
Draft a kicker in the 6th round.
I agree with that sentiment. But at this point, why spend money on a kicker until you know and see enough from 2 guys you barely seen anything from? Here's your competition for now. It does not mean that stays your competition the whole offseason. Now, it could, and then I'm with you, hubris and all that. But right now, it just seems like strategically, let these guys duke it out for these OTAs, see what you got, and then between the OTAs and training camp, bring in a guy if you're not feeling good about it.
No, so what we were talking about and on the sidelines, and you're right. It's less about this particular year and this strategy. Go get McManus versus let these guys battle it out. It's less about this year. It's more about their entire Mike Vrabel's entire philosophy.
And I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I'm just saying right now.
You're right. Right
now, does it like everybody's? I see right here, Music City Miracles. Titans missed opportunity to sign kicker Brandon McManus, who was pretty much Randy Bullock, but just at high altitude. So me, it's just. Bring in Robbie Gold though. Bring in Robbie Gold. You have a connection with Robbie Gold. This should be all in. And I'd be fine with Riley. I'd be fine with them bringing in a kicker, but I kind of understand why they're not doing it right now. I don't understand why they didn't do it earlier, and I won't understand why they do it later.
That's my issue. That's my issue. The Niners took Jake Moody in the 3rd round. That's a little too early.
Right.
The Patriots, but he is by far the best kicker in college football the last 2 years. Chad Ryland was taken out of Maryland in round 4. The Packers took Anders Carlson in round 6. The only 3 kickers were drafted. They have drafted Brady Breeze, Cole McDonald, and Luke Falk under Mike Vrabel.
I hate it.
And here's the deal.
I will say though they did better this year.
Yes.
Maybe Colton Dow, you can kind of make an argument they could have got a kicker, but then all the top 3 kickers are off the board. So
when I say what I feel like, again, it's not about this particular battle. It's more just I think Vrabel just thinks he can outsmart the entire NFL.
Yeah.
And on this particular position, and yet we still have this problem every single year. And every single kicker that gets drafted, most of the time, because not very many of them get drafted, most of the time, kickers who are good enough to be drafted end up playing for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And you could have just solved the problem instead of taking Luke Falk or Cole McDonald or Brady Breeze or whoever. And I guarantee you, look, Evan McPherson drafted, Sebastian Janikowski drafted, Mason Crosby drafted. The guys who play for a long time get drafted.
Crosby is just down the street in Franklin, by the way, or Brentwood, wherever. I mean, he's living.
That's true.
I'm joking. He's living in this area. So, and I know that apparently he doesn't want to retire. I think as last thing I read something about that he's wanting to find I think that they're just, I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. It's just we're still sorting through some financial stuff with Tannehill, Henry, and Byard. Let's sort this out.
Okay, that's fair.
Let's see what these guys got, these young guys got. And if we're not comfortable, we'll call Fat Randy. We'll call Mason Crosby. We'll call whoever else is out there and bring him in for the competition as well.
All right. So you want me to do some rapid fire stuff here?
Well, Ed Henry asked, of the 3 quarterbacks, who's the most vocal?
It's Ryan Tannehill. Will Levis is still very much learning, and Willis. So here's a quick observation about the quarterbacks. I said Levis did not have a couple of bad sessions where he did not throw the ball particularly well. A lot of it was just against air. They did a lot of the first half of practice. There were a lot of things where like two quarterbacks would go one way, and it would be Tannehill and Levis, and they'd be doing a drill, and Willis would be kind of over somewhere else, like what felt like playing the role of like fill-in quarterback scout team guy that was running a drill. And that was how it was broken up for most of the first half of practice. Levis gets into team, fumbles on the first snap, just like he did in the last thing. And then Willis was put in basically with the second team. It felt like a little bit like, all right, Will, okay, you got to get the fumble thing down. And if it's just the first snap and he's nervous, whatever, he's got to work through that. So that's an observation.
Xavier Newman-Johnson was snapping to him, if I remember correctly, too, which is also, I don't think he played center last year or has a lot of, so that could just be a center issue as well.
Yes. And we couldn't even really tell whose fault it was on the snap. So it's not anything to get worked up about. I think Levis is clearly in learning mode. He does have a lot of conversations with a lot of players, especially receivers after throws. He made one deep throw during team where like McCreary was all over basically what amounts to a scout team receiver. I don't remember who the receiver was, but McCreary is just all over him. And that's one of my observations is the young defensive backs look really good. Like McCreary looks really good. I love Elijah Molden playing safety. I said it the day I saw him on the first day of the practice field. He is a safety. He is a rolled up nickelback, high point safety. He's Antoine Winfield Jr. He is built like a safety, and the things you need to have to be a great safety: IQ, intangibles, and physicality. And that is, he's got those two things in spades. He needs to be on the field in some way, shape, or form at all times. McCreary looks really good on the outside. He looks like a bigger, stronger, more confident player, made a bunch of plays. I think all the second-year players look much better than they did last year this time, as expected. The free agents were very vocal. Weaver and Arden Key both made a bunch of plays, getting past offensive linemen. I don't know how – it's hard to tell, like, when you're not wearing pads, like, are you really, winning a one-on-one or not? Like, it's hard to really do much there. But I don't know what other questions. Spears is like – I could see Tajay Spears being used as the slot receiver option, Kyle Phillips guy in either different formations or positionless football, right?
Right.
I think those guys are going to be kind of interchangeable, and Spears is going to be a weapon on the team. He is. We said it since the day he was drafted. They are going to throw him the football.
I said it since the day we're going down the Senior Bowl. like I have been on the Tajay Spears train for a while now.
Any other questions about specific players you got? Anybody?
No, I mean, like Colton Dow, I mean,
he's athletic, dude.
Is he actually, is he, I guess I would say, if you had to say today, Colton Dow, Racing McMath, only one can make the team. Who's making the team?
If they were, how about this? The fact that it's even a conversation for a third-year player and a seventh-round rookie is all you need to know.
Yeah. I like it. And then Chris Moore.
Hey, better than you think, dude. I've been telling you this the entire time.
I
than you think.
I don't have a particular problem with Chris Moore as your wide receiver 4. I won a fantasy game last year because of Chris Moore. So there's nobody that's happier that knows what Chris Moore can do, because he went on a big string there in fantasy football world for a while where he didn't get touchdowns, but he's getting a lot of yards. He knows the offense, and there's your I know it's not the veteran. It's not like, I don't know, like Andre Johnson or Harry Douglas or something, but I mean, he's the veteran presence that you need that can help explain to a really young pass catching group that has no experience in this offense how to play this offense. I don't know. I'm not expecting Chris Moore to be a 900-yard receiver. But what you are looking for is and we talked about this in Football and Other F-Words, is Treylon Burks to get like 1,200 yards and another pass catcher of some sort to get 700-800 yards. That's what this team needs.
Chig.
And it'll likely be Chig, kind of like what Delaney was.
One question I have about the new offense for you, and I know we're running long here, so I want to let you go, but one of the things that this team has never really done ever, no matter who the head coach or coordinator is force feed somebody, quote unquote, in the passing game. They force feed Derrick Henry. I will be interested to see, because their options are a little bit more limited, because they don't have as many dynamic options, but the ones that they have might be pretty good. I wonder if we see some force feeding of Burks and Chig and, whoever that third option may be, whether it's Phillips in the slot, whether it's Spears out of the backfield, whether it's, whoever it might be. My guess is no, they're going to spread it around and there's like 40 targets for like 6 guys. But I'm curious if 2 dudes genuinely separate and have like 100 targets each, and are actually force fed through this offense.
I think 100 targets will be pretty hard. Well, maybe not. So I'm looking at the stats from his first year's offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly, and DeAndre Hopkins got 150 targets. Okay. I mean, obviously DeAndre Hopkins is a game changer, but let's say even if you took 50 of those targets away, that was 150. Will Fuller had 71. Duke Johnson, running back, kind of like Tyjae Spears, 62.
Very good pass-catching running back.
Kenny Stills, 55. Jordan Akins, 55. Darren Fells, 48. So that went wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I don't know. I mean, like if you take 50 away from DeAndre Hopkins and think that this team is going to, do just 100 to Treylon Burks, some of that's going to go elsewhere. I mean, there was a lot of pass attempts. Of course, that year they were in pass attempts, but they were still just 20th in pass attempts in the NFL. They had 534 pass attempts, but he didn't have Derrick Henry. So, I mean, you got to think that 50 pass attempts for 150 for Treylon Burks is not realistic. More than likely. I would think 110 or something, and then there you go. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying right there, there's 3 wide receivers, a running back, and 2 tight ends, which screams to me, Treylon Burks, NWI, Kyle Phillips, Chigakonkwo, Josh Wiley, Tyjae Spears. There's your guys.
Yeah. And this team has had a 100-target player almost every year. Like A.J. Brown a couple of times. Corey Davis had like 112. Delaney Walker had 133. So maybe that answers some of my question about their willingness to go after the best guy. My issue is the second guy is always like 40 targets less. And I think there needs to be a second guy. I think to your point about the 1,200 and like the 700, right? You need Treylon Burks to have about 110, but you need Chig to be at like 95 instead of like 60, like Jonnu Smith was or Austin Hooper. You need those targets to be like 90. And then you've got 2 guys that you can go to all the time. And if they've got that, then maybe that this group turns out to be okay. And I'm not willing to go better than okay. Otherwise, Sinkers Beverages, Kingston Group. Make sure you sign up for the in crowd. Write a review of the podcast of a football show, whatever podcast app you're on. Please write the review.
5-star review, by the way.
I mean, hopefully.
Well, listen, you ain't going if you ain't giving 5 stars. I'll go ahead and tell you that.
That's true. If you write in the comments, hey, I would love to win this trip to go pick out Russell's Reserve barrel pick from Sinkers Beverages, and it's attached to a 1-star review, you're not going to win. You're right. Yeah. I will shill for stars. There's no question about that. Have a great weekend, everybody, for Kingston Group and Sinkers Beverages. Zach, make sure you read all of his stuff at Stack in the Inbox. Football and Other Efforts, all the other great shows across the 440 Sports Network and Broadway Sports Media as well. We appreciate all you guys for hanging out in the comments. All of you, Tim, Elvin, Ed, Donnie, D-Good, Stoney, however sober you are these days, we do appreciate all you guys. Truly.
He's sick right now. He's drunk, and he had too much at the Chinese buffet.
Hot toddies, baby. Hot toddies is always a good way to get rid of the cold and flu with some whiskey and brandy. So there you go. Otherwise, have a great weekend, everybody. No show on Monday. Make sure you come back on Thursday, and we'll tell you how to win those tickets. But you got to sign up to the in-crowd, and you got to leave a review. So Sinkers Beverages, folks. Have a great weekend. Thank you guys for listening. Peace.